Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad to hear this Tuesday morning. We got a big show lined up. But first, our weather. It's going to get today up to 81, a low of 62. And our water temperature is jumping in there at 72 degrees. So it's been pretty steady the last couple of weeks. I'll tell you what's been aggravating, been this doggone wind. But we'll get to that in a second. Let's go and look at our river reading. Part 2 is by Mountain Dew. Take it outside with Mountain Dew. We're looking at the Apalachicola Bluffstown. It's right at 11 foot and it's got a slow, steady drop. The big river is getting in good shape. Now, it's not there yet, but it's headed in the right direction. The Choctaw Caribbean at a 4.2 and it's looking good. Now the Choctaw River is just right now. 4.2 and steady. Our tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. Take a look at these tides this week. Today's May 12th and we've got a strong tide today. The rest of this week and it's going on. It's going to be really good if you get a chance to go the next 3 or 4 days. We're at the actual low tide. It's going to be a high tide now, right after midnight. It's going to be a high tide, then low. I'm sorry, it's going to be a low tide right after midnight, then coming in, and it could be coming in all the way to lunchtime, basically. Just an incoming, then outgoing, just like it was last week. So, looks good right there. Our fishing game time brought to us by Blue Water Outrigger down in Port St. Joe, 5:19 to 7:19 this morning, and then 5:45 to 7:46 this afternoon. And it looks like our marine forecast will be coming south-southeast at 10 to 15. That's strong. It's been that way. It seems like April and May are taking place in March, especially the last part of April and the first 2 weeks of May. It just flat out been blowing. And even at night, we went floundering the other night. You think the wind's going to lay down at night, but it just hadn't been doing so. And I looked at the forecast the next couple of days. It's going to be blowing about 10 to 15 the next couple of days. It looks like it's going to change direction a little bit, but hey, it is what it is. Just deal with it and just go outdoors. All right, take a break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I'm going to read you a little heartwarming thing that was sent to me the other day. This is from Ted Randall. Ted was in my outdoor class of 99 and a great kid. But here's, I had to do projects and all. I'm just going to read this to you. This is Outdoor Ed project from Outdoor Ed in 1999. He said, "Hey, Coach Chester, I thought you'd enjoy this. This is my project from Outdoor Education 1999 I built for my dad as a Christmas present. This tackle was my grandfather's and the photos are of him and my grandma. My dad is in the process of moving and, quote, returned this to me for safekeeping. Thanks for encouraging me to make something meaningful. I plan to return it to my boys as well." So you see the case right here with all the pictures and all the old stuff, and then read this note. This is the note he wrote his dad. "To Dad from Ted, Christmas 1999. That's when he gave it to him. And the dad the other day said, to Ted from Dad, return to you for safekeeping. Thanks for the memories. January 2020. Folks, that's all about. If you ever pass down something like that in the family, something meaningful like that. So good job, Ted Randall, and thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing that with your family. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one I have. We went flounder gigging on night. Me and my buddy, old Jeff Carroll. Jeff got a good rig, and I'm going to tell you where we went. We went down to St. Joe Bay, and we had a good night. I got a video coming up later on this week. It's just a fun video. We got some flounder, but I just want to show you the picture of cleaning one. One had a big old fish in it, and the big one did. This was, when I got home and cleaned this one, we split them, and you see the fish or the bait and all that. Look at there. He was hungry. Now, they just eat the whole fish. It always fascinates me when they eat the whole thing. All right, next picture here. This is Kathy Lewis. This is Gail's cousin now. This is not just some random person. This is Kathy and Woody Lewis. They live down there around Woodville or Sopchoppy or somewhere down that area, not too far from the coast. But look at here. A little surprise was waiting on Woody Lewis, that's her husband, when he reached for the battery in our boat today. Folks, you see that snake laying up there? Is that spooky? Now that was not a rattlesnake, that was like a water snake, but it's still going to scare you. It's going to scare you. Okay, Rick Higbee, one of those golf course basses. That's a nice one. Rick, Rick's grandfather was a preacher of mine when I was little, a long time ago. His mom, we were all in church together growing up. They bought off, Jeff and Carolyn bought off right down here. They went down to Sunjammers and presented a check to Boys and Girls Club for the tournament they put on this year. Everybody helped out on that. They all were a big part of it. And there's the check right there. And that check was $5,000. Cumulative total they give to the Learn to Swim program, just Jeff and his wife Carolyn, $37,000 they donated to their Learn to Swim program. Hats off to y'all. Okay, now this next group of, okay, I got before I get into that, I got one more picture here, actually two more. This is, well, guess what? This is Bobby. This is Bobby and Jamie Johns winning another tournament, and they won $1,700. They had 17 pounds in the tournament this past weekend. Good job, fellas. They're good fishermen. And I got one more picture here. Richard Cockle sent me this picture of his grandson. He said, hey, Mr. Chester, here's a picture of my grandson, Aiden, with one of the largemouth bass he caught this weekend. So it was a good weekend. A lot of good stuff going on. Now we're gonna get set up for this video coming up. This is a different video. I shot it a good while back with Danny Raphael, and Danny. I want to show you this is the Highland View Bridge. One thing on the way back from the Cape over the weekend, I stopped by at the boat ramp right there at Highland View. So I want you to look at some of these pictures. I did not know the boat ramp, the work they were doing on the boat ramp in Miller City was under construction. I had no idea it was being this extensive of a renovation. So here's the first picture here. They've dug the whole thing out. Now right now we're looking toward Port St. Joe. That's the Highland View Bridge on the right, going downhill, and to the left and out in front, of course, is the canal that connects the intercoastal to St. Joe Bay. So for those of you who are not familiar with this, this is Highland View boat ramp, and it is so you see it right here. So I've got several pictures of it under construction and all, and it is they're doing some extensive work. I do not know the deadline. I mean, when they expect to get it done, but it's going to be a job. While I was there, I just turned to my right and show y'all the people that were fishing Saturday. This is under the bridge in Highland View, so it's packed everywhere you go. I just wanted to show y'all that, but anyway, here's another picture. 3 or 4 pictures I took just to share with y'all. Okay, speaking of that, if you look at this picture here, look at that building in the background. That's Danny Raffield's place. That's the old Raffield property. When the war broke out, the government took up all the land, including the Raffields with that Tyndall, and they took the land to form Tyndall. The Raffield clan split up. There's a huge Raffield family all throughout Tyndall. Some came into Panama City, some went down to Highland View in that area. That's the land they have. So Dan and I have a deep appreciation of history, and of course his family history. Danny has done such a good job of preserving his family history, and it's just amazing. And I've known Danny a long time. We're around the same age. We've done some things together and all. Danny's a great guy, and he runs that boatyard now. It's Captain's Cove Marina. It's a great location. They have a big old packing house. So the interview I did with his dad was right there. So this is a little real life history of the Raffield heritage that was so prevalent here in the Florida Panhandle. So we're going to take a break and come back and listen to Danny Raphael talk about his family. You're going to enjoy this, so we'll be right back. Hi folks, I'm down here in Highland View with Danny Raphael. Danny and I, we've known each other a long time, but his family goes way back to the 1800s and all. And Danny and his family's kept this property here, and you're working hard to just keep things going, and I'm amazed at it. Captain's Cove Marina. Tell us about it.
First of all, Captain's Cove Marina, I want everybody to know that's the big captain, my father, and of course this whole clan of Raffields, either grandfather or father, Carl Raffield. This is where he set up in the years after they left from Tyndall and over where the old days. So he started here in the late 30s. So that's the property. That's where the name comes from, Captain's Cove.
Okay, we're in the office now, and Danny and I, we spend most of our time talking about history, because Danny has a full appreciation and love of his family's history, and he's done such a great job taking care of it. And you say this office itself is like a little museum to me. We've been talking an hour on all this stuff in here, so Dennis, give us a tour of it.
All right, to give you a little tour of the office and the history and some things we've collected here. The picture you're seeing now is the lumber from the old St. Joseph Point Lighthouse, or commonly known Beacon Hill Lighthouse. So this lumber here is that. You can see the whitewash still in it. We used it for a little bit of a decor. On around to your right is a set of platform scales that came out of the old Gulf fisheries back in the day when we wade fish in wire baskets and drug them to the platform with what was called a drag hook. So
Said, hey, no springs and honest weight.
Honest weight, that's right. There's a picture of the Beacon Hill Lighthouse, officially known as St. Joseph Point Lighthouse, in 1901, early '01, and that's the construction crew standing up there for their picture. You'll notice the lens is not in the lighthouse at this time. Soon after this picture, it was put in place and put in service in 1902. It was officially opened. All right, in the frame now that you see, and that's an old hard hat or diving helmet that my dad had back in the day, and some 40 years ago, it was sitting on the shelf, and I decided better put it up and keep it safe keeping. But
now, were they sponge diving, or was this an old diving helmet?
He got that for us to dive net out of the wheel, the propeller on the boat, and it had a hand pump air down in it, hook a hose on the other side, and tie a rope on the top of the hat. And if everything went right, they did at least salvage the hat. If you drowned, they'd pull it up and stay with it. You get on the boat. This is a picture of Captain Carl Raphael. This is a day we had a camera around and said, "Pop, how about let's get you a picture?" So we put some foul weather gear on him, and he posed for the picture. You'll notice in the background is the old Highland View Bridge. He's on the Laura Lee, named after my mother and me, and of course shrimp boats in the back. This is 30 years ago, I guess.
Okay, first thing I noticed, of course, is my book, but really what's cool are these hatch covers, Danny.
Yeah, these hatch covers originally came from the old shipyard in Panama City, Wainwright. These back 30, 40 years ago when they were scrapping those boats out, we bought them, I think, at 50 cents a piece to make docks out of. So years ago I salvaged some of them as we remodeled the docks and kept them, and we've made countertops out of them. There's a lot of history here. Down in the front here is really some items from the old St. Joseph Paper Company. They were on the header box in the first paper machine that was put in the paper mill. They date back in the 30s. Steering wheel off of a boat we used to have, a 160-footer. Some nets and chocks and old sailboat rigging for handling lines, cable wrapped with tarred twine, manila. The model of the sailboat you see is one that's very similar to my great-grandfather's sailboat that is pictured below that one. The model that was pictured earlier was modeled after this boat here. It was called the Hypnotist, and it was owned by Charles Jackson Raphael. It was his second sailboat, but this was their work boat. They both snapper fished, grouper fished, and also hauled salt fish up and down the coast to market. This is a piece of coal that years and years ago, diving around the old lumber ship offshore here, this came off of that wreck way years ago. Of course, this was their fuel. The history is, it sank mysteriously off of Mexico Beach. The old wreck's there. It's a very popular place for everybody to fish at now. I think it's a national historical site. This is a picture of on a Sunday, of the Raphaels and their associated families at the church/schoolhouse. Everybody is related one way or the other with the Raphaels, with the exception of the preacher. This was the preacher. This gentleman here is my great-grandfather, Charles Jackson Raphael. This is his brother, Willis Raphael. Bob Raphael here and Bert Raphael. I always get a kick out of this picture here. Uncle Bob was dressed in a Confederate uniform, and Uncle Bert was in a Union. I assume my grandfather Clayton was trying to keep everything in balance. This is Aunt Bertie Raphael. She recently celebrated her birthday. She a sweet lady. But this is all, it is what's called the Auburn School, and I believe that this was called South Auburn. At one time, my grandfather had kids in North Auburn School and South, so they'd have enough head count to keep both schools open. This is some fishing twine spooled up here. This is old school. My dad made this, you know, back in the day. He liked to do the old stuff, but this would have been a hand line, or a way they'd spool up a hand line to let it dry and before they'd set out fishing. My dad, he used to, in the summer months, at one time he ran a charter boat, the Pastime. I think the per day, per head cost was $2.50 on that boat.
Yeah.
This is a painting of my father, Captain Carl Raphael. This is a good friend of his. Took a snapshot of him 30 years ago and sent him a full professional presented painting. It's really a neat rendition of him. The following picture is just an assortment of pictures, mostly from the old days back around East Bay in the 1920s, 30s. But the first one there is four young fellas that grew up in Highland View. I'm one of them. Larry, left to right, Larry Branch, Danny Raphael, Ted Whitfield, and Jerry Branch. That was some of the dirt road sports that grew up here on these clay roads in Highland View. Next is my grandfather, Clayton, and his wife, Annie Lee, grandmother, and then Elijah Williams and Roxy Williams in the picture. I think that's Bert Raphael, the young one there. Next picture is Henry Raphael's seine crew. You can notice behind them is the salt stands. Back in the days, no ice, the mullet and the fish were caught were split and salted. You can see the net reel behind them. It was linen and cotton such as that. They had to dry them about every day or they would rot. This picture is Clayton Raphael and my grandmother Annie Lee, and the twins, Murtis and Myrtle, and Aunt Jewel. You can see this is a Sunday. They're out for a cruise, probably after church. They've got the shade rolled out. He's got the bow of the boat right up there about Redfish Point. Behind him, in the very distance, you can see the cranes, the booms of the cranes that were at that time digging the new pass in Panama City.
That would have been in the early 30s, late 20s, yeah, 31, 32.
Bay Point's over to the right. Next picture is Clayton Raphael up in Masalina Bayou. Behind him is where the old courthouse, and government center's at. He's got the spray hood on. In those days, they call that the covered wagon, but that would be rolled out for the crew to sleep under. When they catch fish, they roll it up, store all their bed gear up under where he's standing. If you'll notice, he's steering the boat with what's called tiller lines. There was no steering wheel. He'd steer that boat from that position. In bad weather, he'd get inside and fold that spray hood over, and he'd peep out the crack and steer the boat to travel. This picture here is a picture of kneeling in the center is my great-grandfather Charles Jackson, and above him is Henry Raphael, my great-uncle, and I believe to the right is Cullen Raphael, and the rest of the guys I can't recall.
All right.
The picture there is a day they're splitting mullet. The guy on the right's bringing the fish from the skiff to the splitting bench where you see the fish piled up. My grandfather is on the He's on the far right, and Henry Raffield's on the far left. And the boat in the back is the Isabel, and that picture is taken in Crooked Island Sound. Behind it is Purcell timber, Serber timber, and to the right out of the picture is Purcell timber.
How about that?
This picture here is a picture of the Beacon Hill lighthouse, probably in about 1920. The sidewalk was 600 feet long, and then it reached a range tower with another light was in it. Left to right in the back is Bert Raffield, one of the first charter boat captains in Panama City, and Bob Raffield, known as Bob or Robert, renowned commercial fisherman, and their sister Bertie Raffield. They're posing. They're probably the same day as the schoolhouse picture there.
And the last one, this is old bridge, isn't it?
That's the Highland View Drawbridge. I guess it was replaced 10 years ago, but that's the bridge. A lot of history there.
Man, you've done a remarkable job preserving not only your family history, but just a lot of the history of the area. It's just great, beautiful.
This area has a lot of history, but you just have to dig it out. There's not a lot of structures and et cetera around, but it's a rich history here. This bay is Spaniards named it, and they knew its importance. There's not another bay like St. Joseph Bay.
That's right.
It's the most pristine bay. I've looked at every bit of water from Mexican border all the way to Key West, and this one is truly unique for recreation or living, whatever somebody wants to do here.
I agree with that. Well, thank you so much, Danny.
Thank you, Winston. Thank you for coming.
All right, buddy.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.